Good afternoon. My name is Elizabeth Christmas. Can everyone hear me okay? Okay, just making sure. Welcome to our training today. Our discussion is going to center around the topic of self-care for school staff. I am the regional clinical supervisor with Youth First. Basically, I supervise all of our social workers from around Princeton, as far south as Gibson Southern, and then as far north actually as Mooresville up in Monroe County, almost kind of knocking on the door of Indianapolis. So I cover a wide range of area. I'm based in Martin County in Lagodi. I've been with Youth First for about 17 years. The last place I was at was the school here in Lagodi when we started a partnership with them. And so now I've moved into this role of getting to supervise a lot of our awesome social workers. I got to help hire some of the ladies that you know, Jessie and Ashley. I wasn't in on Ellen, but I'm so excited we have her too. So basically, as you guys know, joining me today are Ashley Underwood, who is at Logue and Sharon, Jessie, who's at Chandler Elementary, and Ellen, who is at Oakdale and Tennyson. Did I get that right, girls? Okay, awesome. And although I'm not a teacher myself, I just want a little self-disclosure. I come from a huge family of teachers. My mom and dad are both retired teachers and coaches. I have 3 sisters. They're all teachers by their education. None of them are actually in the classroom. I'm sure you can all relate to that happening sometimes. But they all were teachers by trade. And I'm also married to a teacher. So I'm about as close as you can get to a teacher without fully being one, I guess. So I just say that because I want you to know that, you know, teachers are some of my favorite peeps in the whole world, and I fully support and empathize with how tough of a job you have anyway. And in light of the recent, you know, circumstances, I know that has got to be, you know, even tougher. So thank you so much for everything that you do and continue to do as we all try to figure out what it's going to look like when it's time for school to start again. So with that, does anyone have any questions before I'm going to attempt to share the screen of our PowerPoint, and hopefully that will come off without a hitch. We'll have time for questions at the end, but if anyone has a question, please feel free to jump in and let us know. Okay, I think we should be seeing the PowerPoint now. Okay, so just to start out, I like this quote. It says, "Self-care is not selfish or self-indulgent. We cannot nurture others from a dry well. We need to take care of our own needs first, then we can give from our surplus, our abundance." So I think as teachers and social workers and counselors and all of us who work hard to help others, we know that it's easy to get run down. It's easy to get burnout. We have such passion and such empathy for others that we sometimes over involve ourselves and over function to a point where we end up kind of losing our own self and taking care of ourselves. So it's really important that we learn to, you know, like the stewardess says, put your own mask on before you try to put on a mask of a child, because you can't help them if you're not taking care of yourself. So that's the main reason, you know, that we want you to be able to practice good self-care. Okay. Oh, there we go. Okay, so I just want you to think for just a minute, and you can share some words in the chat even if you want to, but what has this school year been like for you? When I first started working on this PowerPoint, we were not in the middle of a pandemic, so I would imagine that those words might even be a little different now than they would have been a few months ago. But what are some of the words that you would use to describe your school year? And if you don't want to share, that's fine, but maybe just think about what some of those are to yourself. Any of the social workers, I can pick on you guys. Any of you guys want to share any words that come to mind for you? I would say for me, just like confusing.
I would definitely say it's been a learning curve for me, trying to figure everything out.
For sure. Overwhelming, rewarding, surreal, roller coaster, chaotic, rewarding. Good to see the rewarding. I'm glad that we're still feeling like it's rewarding in the midst of all this chaos. Definitely. Crazy, very busy, stressful. Yes. We all have been thrown into not only teaching still our own classroom, but if you have kids at home or grandkids that you're helping with, you know, it's just it's crazy. I feel like if I wait to get my kids up a little later, I can get more done, but yet then I feel like, oh gosh, did they miss something they should have been doing already on the classroom? So everybody's schedules are just kind of backwards, I think. Eye-opening. That's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Well, as we move on to the next slide, I'm going to turn it over to Ellen. If I can get the slide to move, I'm so sorry.
Well, while you're doing that, for those who don't know me, like she said, I'm Ellen Dipple, and I am the Youth First Social Worker at Oakdale and Tennyson. And this is my second full year being employed with Youth First. So.
Okay. There you go, Ellen. Sorry.
Thank you. You're good. So this slide here just pretty much has some definitions on it. I'm talking about sustainable caring. Caring is things that are done to help keep someone healthy and safe. Those can be mental, physical, emotional needs being met in order to keep them safe and healthy. And then sustainable is being able to be used without being completely used up or destroyed. So not completely depleting yourself. Like she said, you can't pour from an empty cup, so we have to make sure that we're not being completely used up in order to help others. And that's where sustainable caring comes in, being able to consistently provide compassionate care with resilience to the pain and suffering of others. So not letting ourselves become completely depleted and able to take care of ourselves and still care for others. And if I'm going too fast, let me know, because I tend to speak quickly. Or if anyone has any questions. Okay, so where do you find yourself on the continuum? It starts with just compassion, which would be identifying with the suffering of another human and having that desire to relieve that suffering, which all of us that work in school buildings, we definitely have a lot of compassion. We wouldn't be there if we didn't. We want to help them, the kiddos and other staff, in any way we can. That's just our nature being in the buildings. Oh, you're jumping ahead of me.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. And then compassion, satisfaction is the pleasure that you get from working with and helping those other kiddos, which I definitely say a lot of us feel that. Maybe not every day. It might be frustrating and overwhelming, but as a whole, I think a lot of us do feel that compassion, satisfaction for the most part. And then next on the continuum would be compassion fatigue, which is your deep physical and emotional exhaustion, with being able to feel empathy for the clients and loved ones and coworkers. And then compassion fatigue, going through the motions, you're kind of just maybe feeling disconnected at that point from your students and staff members and other workers. So then comes your vicarious trauma, which is the transmission of traumatic stress through observation or hearing another stories. And then in turn, those traumatic events result in a shift in your worldview and your meaning too. A lot of us hear some pretty intense things from the kiddos from time to time, and we can take that on ourselves, and it can really have a big impact on how we go through life as well. And then comes your burnout, which is an extreme circumstance where your health is suffering or your outlook on life has turned negative due to this impact, whether it be hearing these kiddo stories or the amount of work you're currently experiencing, which right now everyone's work is very different with COVID right now. And then further down on the spectrum, you have your vicarious post-traumatic growth, which is referring to significant positive symptoms whenever working with those in trauma, and the impact it has on your personal growth as a worker, which I like to think that I'm in this area. I see that kids are suffering and I'm doing my best to help, and in turn, it helps me realize how blessed I am, how thankful I am, and trying to be more present in the moment, and just appreciative of what I do have. And then that goes along with sustainable caring, being able to consistently provide that compassionate care that we want to give the kiddos and our coworkers, with resilience and being able to still help with the pain and suffering of others. And once again, if I'm talking too fast or need to repeat something, let me know. Okay, and then how do I know where I'm at on the spectrum? I don't know that I need to read each and every one of these to you guys, but there's different effects that can have on your behavioral, physical, spiritual, interpersonal health. I can hit just a few of them for you guys. Maybe noticing that you're more withdrawn from others, whether it be those in your own household or even your coworkers. And even the kiddos that you work with on a daily basis too, just noticing yourself being more distant from them, changes in appetite or weight gain or loss too, depending how you react with food in difficult times. Maybe your sense of purpose is not what it used to be. You're feeling kind of lost and helpless. Yeah, I'm not going to read every one of them, but yeah, we can go to the next one. And we can send this to all of you too, so if you do want to have each one, you can see those. And these are just more areas where it can affect you, your emotional, cognitive, and work-related, which I feel like right now we're trying to hit on the work-related ones a lot, so I am going to go through each of these. Feeling less competent in your work, feeling like, am I even making a difference or doing what I'm supposed to be doing? Maybe you're dreading going into work and working with specific people or certain kiddos, or just really getting to you lately. Transferring your emotions from one person to another and not trying to keep those separate. And that could be, once again, at home or at work. You have less sense of purpose, less enjoyment with your career, maybe dreading Mondays. That can be a big one too, even after you have your time to recuperate, if you're still dreading that time. Maybe wanting to call in sick, thinking of leaving the field, dark humor, and feeling, once again, saying things like, I'm not making a difference. Why should I bother with this? Whether it be this kiddo, this activity, and just being more pessimistic as a whole. And I wanted to hit on that column specifically because this is geared towards you that we're working with too. So, okay. And then now I believe we're back to Elizabeth.
I better unmute myself. Okay. Thank you, Ellen. Did anyone have any questions about anything that she went over before we move on? And again, we can send the PowerPoint if anyone wants to have, just some of those specific signs and symptoms. I know the first time I looked at that list, I was like, this sounds a lot like me. And I thought, uh-oh, I may be experiencing more, burnout or compassion fatigue or vicarious trauma or whatever the case might be. I might be experiencing more of that than I realized. But anyway, the next thing we want to talk about is our growth versus our burnout. So one way to kind of put some words to, what we're feeling is thinking about in your current experience, what you're doing right now, which I know is probably nothing like the normal reality, but for right now, it's our normal. Um, in that current experience, are what's your input versus your output? So your daily life roles and responsibilities, the things that you're a parent, a teacher, a grandparent, a friend, what those things are in a given day. What are all the tasks that you need to accomplish in order to fill all of those roles and responsibilities, both personally and professionally? So again, for you right now, if you're teaching your own children at home and you're still teaching your classroom children, probably got extra output that maybe you don't normally have. So those would be your things that are considered outputs. And then your input, we're looking at the daily nourishing activities that you're taking in your life. So in any given day, what are all the activities that you have that nourish you personally and professionally? So it's kind of like, comparing on both sides of the spectrum. You know, am I trying to put out more than I'm taking in? After a while, that just common sense tells us that's not going to work forever, right? Kind of like your budget. If you're spending beyond your means, you're going to run out of money. So it's just kind of a pretty concrete way to imagine how we might be able to think about what we're doing with our bodies as far as input and output. So your current experience, once you think about what that is and, kind of have an honest conversation with yourself, is it sustainable? Is what you're doing right now sustainable? Obviously, again, the situation that we're in hopefully isn't the new norm forever. So hopefully when we get back to school, maybe our outputs won't require quite as much of us, but we definitely have a lot of demands on our time and our energy. So is your current experience, your inputs and your outputs sustainable? Is it manageable? Maybe it's manageable for a little bit of time. We all can get our adrenaline going and kind of function on extra adrenaline for a while when we need to. Our body's pretty good at that. But is it manageable for a long period of time? Is this the way that you want your daily life and your quality of life to be long term? And thinking about the people who are most important to you, your own children, your own close friends and family members, would you recommend someone else strive to maintain this lifestyle? So if someone you care about came to you and wanted advice on, you know, gosh, I'm so stressed, I'm feeling burnt out, or whatever it might be, and you talk to them about their input versus their output and how sustainable it is, would you recommend that they try to maintain this? And if you wouldn't, then it's okay to give yourself some grace and say, maybe I'm trying to do too much. So your current signs and symptoms, the things that Ellen talked about, those are the result of your current experience. These signs and symptoms, and they're the cost of managing the cost of managing those signs and symptoms are the cost of caring for yourself. So how high of a price are you willing to pay? Is it worth it to continue to try to function at your current experience? And then the other thing to think about is why. How did I end up in this spot? My intentions were good. I never intended to, not take good care of myself as I was, you know, uh, going into my career and trying to keep up with work life, family life, personal life. But why does it happen? It happens to all of us at times. And one of the terms that we use to describe this is compassionate curiosity. So your curiosity, it's led you to lots of different life roles and responsibilities and tasks. Something has reinforced this lifestyle for you. It probably seemed sustainable once upon a time, but it could be that now it's causing you harm. Um, I know that when I first started in my career with Youth First, I didn't have any kids of my own. And it was much easier to throw myself into work and not, I was also much younger, but it was easier to throw myself into work and not, I could maintain that a lot easier than I can now. But with kids of your own and so many other responsibilities, whether it's, church or friends or family, maybe taking care of parents or family members, sometimes what was sustainable for a time is not any longer, and it may even be causing you harm. So there's no judgment here. This is totally judgment-free zone. We're just trying to help everyone think about where they're really at and have awareness around that. So it could be that some of the beliefs that you developed in childhood have led you to sort of be the type of person that, never says no, takes on maybe more than what you really, should or what's good for you. Maybe you, get a lot of fulfillment and satisfaction from people, from taking care of other people. Maybe that's one of your gifts, is serving others, and you just you always expect yourself to be selfless and kind of take care of yourself last. Maybe it's the way you perceive your religious beliefs. Maybe you think it's your calling to deny yourself and put others always in front of you. Maybe you're a perfectionist. Maybe you just don't feel worthy and you think it's your job to take care of everyone else. So there's lots of reasons why we get into this position. But I think sometimes it helps us to look back and understand how we got there, because maybe that can help us moving forward, to maybe refocus some of those beliefs that we have. So the key to all this is that if we can develop awareness as to why we make the choices we make, then hopefully we can recognize and work to change the ones that are contributing to our compassion fatigue. Um, so basically, just like we just covered, if you understand how you got to this point, what it is that motivated you to become the person that you are, with all the good and maybe all the overwhelm that you're experiencing, hopefully we can start to recognize and make some shifts that can help to reduce that stress. So again, no judgments about how we get to this point. We just want to start bringing awareness to your experiences and what's contributing to them, so that we can all hopefully be more open to strategies that help us to get to that sustainable caring, where yes, we can care for others, but we can also do it at a level that sustains us as well. And some of these things can be really uncomfortable at first. If you're the type of person who never says no and you start to have to draw that boundary about some things, it is going to be uncomfortable at first. And then finally, getting comfortable with being a little uncomfortable will be easier if you can draw on your foundation of what your values are and what you want your quality of life to be. So sometimes it's easier to make that tough decision about, yeah, I'm going to take this step even though it's going to be uncomfortable, if we understand, what are the values that I really, really want to be the foundation of my quality of life moving forward. It's more effective to work towards something positive than to try to escape something negative. So we want to come up with what does it look like when I'm living my best life, my best quality of life? What are the values that'll get me there? And then we shoot for that, as opposed to, gosh, I just can't do this anymore. What I'm doing, I can't do this anymore. We get very focused on the negative, and hopefully it's easier to see what we want and then think about how we can achieve that. Okay. And I apologize, this is a little small, I think. And again, if I share the PowerPoint with you, which I will, it's definitely, you can make it a little bigger. But this slide is just to give you a chance to take some inventory of what your most important values are, just to get you thinking about, what is the foundation for how I want my life to look moving forward. So if we're living by our values, then we're going to have more compassion, satisfaction. We're going to feel more satisfied in our work, and we're going to have a better foundation of being able to maintain that caring lifestyle that we want. So just thinking about what are the 5 most important values to you? And you don't have to do this now. And this is not an exhaustive list. I'm sure there are lots that aren't on here, but just take some time in the next, couple of days to think about, gosh, what are my most important foundational values? What are the things that the values that I want my kids to learn from me, or my grandkids, or my kids at school? What are the values that I want people to know that I stand for? And if we can identify those, I think that can help us then as we move forward, thinking about, am I keeping up with these values, or am I getting off track? And now we have Jessie.
Hi, I'm Jessie Smith. I'm with Chandler Elementary, and this is my first year with Youth First. So like Elizabeth was saying, how can we and where do we start to recognize and shift this mindset? So even just things that you don't necessarily think of. So making decisions throughout your day. So what is helping and hindering you from meeting your long-term goals or enhancing self-care? So are you working late or early? I see this often with teachers. They're coming in early and staying late, even coming in on weekends. Is your expectations, are they too high to where you're not able to obtain those, or are you procrastinating? Think of these and see, like she said, you don't have to put them in chat or say them out loud, but I encourage you to think about these things while we're going through. So what are you saying or doing that is helping you? Are you taking proper breaks? Are you eating through the day? I know as teachers and educators, it's hard to find time in your day to take you time. A lot of teachers take your break to keep planning for other things in the classroom. But are you having connection with others other than just checking Facebook or social media? And then also, are you feeling or thinking unpleasant things? Are you getting caught up in troublesome thoughts or painful memories? And then also, what about the pleasant things you're thinking of? And what's important to your values? Like Elizabeth said, what are your values? Family, friends, faith, health, community, those kinds of things are important. Just those little decisions throughout your day can impact your mindset. So the next one is tracking the positive and gratitude for change. So it's easy to get bogged down with negativity, but refocusing, like it says, mindfully, purposefully looking for positive events and opportunities for gratitude. So like what's been mentioned is we do sometimes see the negative, pessimistic side of things, and that is so easy to if you start your day off rough. And I'm guilty of this sometimes, like, man, I woke up on the wrong side of the bed, and then I was late for work, and then so it's really easy to get bogged down with that negative things, those negative things. So if you can try to just really pinpoint, and it can be the most minor thing, positive things, it can really start to shift that thinking. And this tracking tool on the next slide can also help do that. So this is the happy tracker. And with this, you just think of one positive event, just first off, just starting off. And it can be personally or professionally. So it can be as little as you made time to eat breakfast today, or one of your students reached their AR goal that maybe you didn't think that was possible in the beginning of the year, or you got through a whole lesson without a major distraction. You left for work on time today. So things like that may seem minor. I think if you can point out one positive thing, then it can there again shift that mindset into thinking, oh, well, this also happened, and I was able to take a walk around my block, or I was able to make a meal with my family. just those things can start to snowball. And yeah, we will be sending that habit tracker out as well. And just try to find time in your day. It might take 5 minutes to find something that you can find positive, and also why are you thankful for that? Does it show personal growth? Does it show that you're taking time for yourself, or you are growing within your profession, or are you setting healthy boundaries? That's something that you could put for your gratitude section. And then, so Youth First sent their school social workers to a 2-day training about this topic. And this was probably one of the parts of the presentation that most resonated with me, is non-negotiable self-care. And the presenter just told us all, she passed out note cards, and she wanted us to write 2 forms of self-care that we can participate or do daily. So it's got to be obtainable. Like, I'm not going to put, I'm going to run 5 miles a day, because I'm just not going to do that. But I might say, I'm going to close, like on a smartwatch, I'm going to close my activity circle. Or if you don't have a smartwatch, you can do 30 minutes of movement a day. Or I'm going to do a mindfulness breathing session. There are tons of podcasts that you can even do on your way to work. I know several teachers that do that, and that's just kind of their self-care moment. My favorite one was nature for 20 minutes. Some people don't mind to go outdoors, and I'm one of those people. I enjoy it. And so did the presenter. And so it was rainy and it was chilly when we went to the training, and she got her coat on and she took her umbrella, and the room was floor to ceiling windows. And I watched her. She walked for 20 minutes during our lunch break. We had like a 30-minute lunch break, and she walked for 20 minutes of it. And she just I started doing that because she had presented that. And so I kind of encourage all of you guys to just pick 2 things. I'm going to do this for myself, but we also have to think about it in a way of, and I'm guilty of this, man, I still have 2,000 steps left, and it's 7:00, in the evening. I want this something to be like, oh, I get to do this. So there again, even it's self-care, we tend to sometimes be pessimistic about it. And so shift that mindset into, this is going to make me feel better. I'm going to feel better after I go outside and get some fresh air, or I'm going to feel better after some people really enjoy cooking healthy meals, and just saying, all right, this is for me. I'm going to do these things and make it a routine, make it a habit. And I think that it could really benefit my self-care. So that is all I have for you, ma'am.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Jessie. And I will say the presenter, her name is on the next slide. Her name is actually Charlene Richard. And she is from Canada, so I don't think that our windy, chilly, rainy day was quite as terrible as what her normal windy, chilly days are. So that might have been a little advantage for her that we did not have from Southern Indiana. But I definitely was also inspired by the way that she made sure she got that time. And she had a beautiful accent as well. And I'm trying to remember, there was a little phrase, if any of you remember, please help me out here, but there was a little phrase that she called her little breaks, and I can't remember what it was, but it was something really cute. Obviously it didn't stick with me as well as it should have, but she would say, yeah, I'm going to do my break now, and she would go outside and walk that place for 20 minutes every day. Yeah. And also, I just wanted to point out the quote at the bottom here. I found this when I first started going through her trainings, and it just really stuck out to me as not necessarily grammatically correct, but just something that I felt like was sort of a good mantra as we go through stress, is just, everything is figure outable. There's always a way to figure it out. So if we just keep working at it, keep taking care of ourselves, and, we're in this field because we have a passion for kids, and we just can't forget that and lose sight of that. So let me get to the next slide here where you can have the information about Charlene. Again, her name is Charlene Richard, and she is the founder of Caring Safely, which is a self-care curriculum, basically. If you're interested in learning more about her or even taking some of her courses, you can find her at caringsafely.org. And also, if you would like to receive a certificate for completion of today's training, if you could just email Donna Farrell at Youth First, she has those for you. And she would be more than happy to get that to you so you can have it for your records, for your PPGs and all that stuff. And then again, there's the names of those of us that we're helping today. If you want to get in touch with any of us, I'm sure you have the other girls' emails and contact information since they're in your schools, but my contact is just echristmas@youthfirstinc.org, just like the other girls. And I want to open it up to see if anyone has any questions before we close off. This is all the information we have for you. I will share the PowerPoint with your Youth First social workers, and they can pass it on. And I also have a separate document I've shared with them that has the happy tracker, and it's blown up so that you could print it off and actually use it on your own to start to track all the positive moments and gratitude, things that you have to be thankful for. And I appreciate all the comments in the chat. It sounded like some people were really resonating with the nature and focusing on the little positive things. Does anyone else have any questions before we close out? Okay, let me see here. Oh, thank you so much. You're welcome. Definitely. Thank you all, yes, for attending. Thank you, Ashley. Awesome. I'm so glad you appreciated it. And, again, feel free to reach out to any of us if there's anything more we can do. Youth First values educators, the staff that we work with so much. We know how important and valuable you all are. So please don't forget that. And we know that we could not do the work we do if you were not as helpful as you are. So we want to do anything and everything we can to help. Don't ever hesitate to reach out. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. And thank you to Ellen and Jesse and Ashley for helping with this as well.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much.
Bye.
It's Mrs. Nestle.